This is my vintage synth here, the Prophet 5, used on so many records in the 80s. And my Oberheim expander that I had, this is what I went on tour with Alan back in the 80s. And then my vintage keyboard, so this is a Fender Rhodes, and then this is my DX7 II right here.
Let's talk about your favorite part and also my favorite part, synthesizers. So synthesizers, the principle seems very obvious. It's the sound building from all the basic elements. And there is an emphasis of it's an imitation of the acoustic instruments and the natural sounds. Yeah. But it could turn out to be cold. But in your hands, it feels like you're just breathing and let it be into the synthesizers machines. What's your personal journey with that?
Like I said before, I grew up in the 70s, and these kind of new instruments were just being developed. And it was an amazing experience at that time, because before that you had like the organ, like the B3, or you had Fender Rhodes, or you had acoustic piano. And then, of course, the guitar players could do amazing things with the strings, and they could bend and do vibrato, and they could run their instrument through distortions and all kinds of different gadgets that a piano player couldn't do. You just have piano. People started experimenting with, like, say, electronic piano, like a Fender Rhodes, like I have over here. And then they started running it through different gadgets like guitar players did. And now keyboard players were starting to sound more like other instruments, right? And then the synthesizer world came in, and it was really new. And the development of the synth, you know, in the original synths, you could only play one note at a time. You couldn't play multiple notes. It became more of a lead instrument for some people, like Jan Hammer, Chick Corea used to do it. And then they started to develop synthesizers where you could play like multiple notes. So my first synthesizer, I could play 4 notes at the same time, which was revolutionary. This synth here is called the Prophet 5. You could play 5 notes at the same time, which was unheard of, you know, on a synthesizer. It was really a new thing. Nowadays, you can play as many notes as you want, right?
I can't understand that.
Yeah, it was weird, but
okay.
It's just the way synthesis was. It was just, it was a new thing. They just had like this, an oscillator, a tone, and then they could change the sound of the tone with different filters, different envelopes. What we did back then is just, sometimes you did mimic like horn sounds or things like that. But I think in the end, it just became its own thing. When I develop a sound, I just think of, it is organic, like, you know, it starts off with a flute kind of sound or a clarinet kind of sound. But I think the crux of it is like with the pitch bend and then the vibrato and different things. So it became an outlet for us piano players that could only play one note and stick to it. Yeah. And now I can bend the note, I can change the note, I can change the timbre of the note. I can do all kinds of things with it, just like a real instrument. So I think that's the way I was thinking. And then when I play, I think I hear my dad playing a saxophone or something, and I'm imitating those kind of characters and vibrato and crescendos. And then I added a new thing, which is this breath controller. I can control like vibrato and volume and timbre just by blowing into this. And then it becomes more like a sax or something, or trumpet or whatever. You can just change just by doing this thing, and it frees up my hands to do pitch bend and the notes. That was my journey of getting to where I am now. So I think even when I'm doing stuff for my records now, I'm still thinking in the old school way of the 70s where I grew up, those kind of organic sounds that came from like synthesis, you know. And then I combine a bunch of sounds together to make, you know, one kind of like orchestral pad sound. So this is probably 3 or 4 different sounds layered on top of each other with effects, reverb and delays and chorusing.
Yeah, there's an analogy between smoothie and synthesizer. Although it's 2 different things.
Yeah.
So just saying, like, you start with the base of a flavor you're choosing, and then you need to decide how creamy it is, and then you control the speed of how fast it spins, and then at the end you add some effects or some toppings on the top. It becomes a smoothie. Yeah,
it's yeah, exactly. And it's like the color thing or the texture thing, or I do relate music to the taste, you know. This needs a little more red pepper, you know, so you put some sound in it gives it a little spice, you know. Or this needs to be a little more mellow and sweet, and so I change the sounds for that. And then I can change how I approach things. So I have this foot pedal where I have the sound that I bring in with my foot.
Ah.
And then so I create a whole atmosphere with the sound. And then up here is a different texture, like, and then with somebody singing, and I can bring in.
You know, there's an effortlessly shifts between the technique fluidity and also the colors in terms of the choices from the shimmery pass sounds to the gritty synth leads. And I think this is nowhere more apparent in quantum entanglements. Can we listen to it?
Yeah, you want to hear? You want to hear that part?
Yeah.
So like nice full pads. And then I have a synth lead, and then there's a soprano saxophone and a vocal. And then I bring us the kind of sound there I just played for, like, and it's just. So there's many layers going on there.
There's so many auditory experiences just from that 1 minute.
Just from so it kind of comes to fruition at that point, you know, for the whole journey. There's an acoustic piano solo before, then I do a synth solo, and then there's a breakdown section with just the vocalist, my friend from Brazil. A lot of times when I write, especially this kind of music, I'm always thinking of vocal, like for the melody. Like just about every one of my songs I sing. I wish I could sing, I don't, but so that particular song there, like it has that melody. It's very vocal-like, you know. They can put these little we were talking about before, the tension notes, you know. I can have it open, or I can, even right next to the melody. And then I have a nice pad sound underneath it. And then there's another melody that goes through it with a soprano saxophone. And then there's a bass melody. So it's very, I guess I think like an orchestrator for an orchestra. It's like when I have all the instruments doing, you know. And then the drums and percussion go on top of that, the vocals. I have my own little melody. Then the bass does his thing, you know.
Yeah, everything just weaves through. But then we need to always keep in the ear to follow the overarching narrative of the song.
Right.
There's so many things.
You have to follow the harmony because it's like I was saying. There's no key. It's not in a particular key. Yeah. I remember writing this song. I just came up with this, and it needs to go to something special, you know, not just something in that key. So I just go completely outside it, you know, and then back to the key, and then another special, and then a release, kind of back to where it started, but now major instead of minor. So sometimes subconsciously, but like consciously, I think of when I play the harmony, like where is it going to go next? What kind of feeling do I want to portray to the listener? And when I move that harmony, that's when you get that particular feeling that I have. Yeah. And then the listener may have a different experience with it, but that's okay.
You know, when I'm thinking of keys, I'm thinking of the key to each different universe. You know, when I listen to yours.
This is it. Yeah, I like thinking like that. It's like the multiverse, right? All the different galaxies in our universe, and then maybe other universes. And I like physics. They think like that too. They imagine stuff that's not here, and then they go try to find it if they can. And I think music can be like that. It's like, let me go search for a harmony that maybe is not the normal down the street harmony. It's way off somewhere, you know. Or sound, like I'll approach sounds like that. Like this part of the tune needs a special sound just for this one thing that really takes somebody's imagination somewhere else. And then I'll work sometimes hours just to get one patch together and then put it to where it needs to be until it satisfies myself. And then see what the people think, you know. It's going to be up to them. But when I produce, I try not to think too much about what other people may feel. I try to go with my own feelings, my own thoughts, my own desires, and then let it be what it is, you know.
In the middle of this song, I remember there's a solo piano.
Yeah, acoustic piano.
Acoustic piano.
Yeah.
It's so amazing because I personally compose, and that's my goal, is to combine the electronic piano with the acoustic together. And I know how hard it is to blend it well.
It was very difficult. Well, this whole album, Connections, there's no acoustic piano on the whole record. Or when I was doing the album, and then I'm like, I have to find one spot where I do acoustic piano solo, one. And so it happened to be this tune, and so I play both. So I play acoustic piano solo, and then when it comes back, I play the synth solo too. So I play both solos on this tune. But I wanted that different timbre that only the acoustic piano could create, you know. And so I set up mics on my Steinway, and I played the solo that's on that. And it seemed to really fit, like a nice combination for this particular song, you know. So it worked out good.
Did you think well of in terms of recordings or in terms of the arrangements of the piano solo? What do you think is very special for that piano solo part?
You know, I tried some other things. I tried to do maybe an electronic piano solo. I actually had a saxophone player play over that solo. I was trying to think of different things, and then I finally realized, like, I think what it needs is just a real acoustic piano. If you notice on that, I'm not playing any chords in the left hand. It's just a solo. It's just only right hand. So all the chords you hear are from my synthesizers and from my electronic keyboards. And it's just like a solo instrument. I thought that's what that needs on top of this, is just this timbre, and where I could really articulate and go to the high notes and really shine through. And I think it worked, you know. So I did it, and I listened to it, and I think it's going to work. So I kept it. I don't know.
Can we listen to it?
Yeah.
Just part of it.
Yeah. So that's so that would be
2
more.
minutes, yeah.
So this is the release going into the solo. Minor, the major, diminish, back to major, Lydian. Like soaring. The second time through. Only a piano can do that, right? That's top notes. And then vocal.
From a production perspective, how do you curve out the instrument that you want to bring out and don't overpowering other elements?
Sometimes it's trial and error. Sometimes you're just lucky, you find something like, oh. But a lot of times it's thought through, you know. I do my own mixing too, so I produce it. I have to do everything. A lot of that kind of stuff comes into the mixing stage. So I'll put the textures and sounds on one, and then I have to balance everything and say like, okay, how much of this kind of texture do I need to create the warmth I need, or the pad, or the harmony, whatever. It's trial and error, so it's like I go back and listen. I'm like, okay, I have too much of this sound. It's like a conductor in an orchestra. His job is to mix. So if the cellos are playing too much, he's like this, you know. If he needs more flutes and French horn, he's like this. So he's basically a mixer right in the middle, and then creating an experience for the audience, like where they hear different things come in. And that's what I do with the mixing. So that's where I bring the textures in. And if it's not working when I'm mixing, then I'll go back to the drawing board. I'm like, maybe I need this kind of sound on top of it. And I've done that many times too. You have to kind of keep going back and forth. So.